Everyone with a decent super balance eventually hears the pitch. Take control, run your own fund, beat the big guys. So should you roll your industry super into a self-managed super fund or leave it exactly where it is? This is the comparison that quietly decides how much money you retire with. This is not a small decision. For a 45-year-old on a $250,000 balance, modelling based on ATO underperformance guidance suggests staying in an efficient industry fund could leave her roughly $194,000 better off over 22 years than switching to a typical sub-500k SMSF ATO at around $8,800 in extra insurance premiums over the same period. Advisor comparisons, and the total cost of choosing wrong is about $200,000 at retirement. That is the price of getting this one call wrong. At a glance, these two are built for completely different people. An industry fund charges a percentage of your balance, manages the money for you, and bundles in cheap insurance. An SMSF hands you total control of where the money goes, but loads you with fixed running costs and personal legal responsibility for every compliance obligation. The industry fund is the path of least resistance, and for most people that is a feature, not a flaw. According to MoneySmart, you typically pay around $100 in admin fees plus 0.8 to 1% of your balance. So on $500,000, that is roughly $5,000 a year in investment fees. It suits the person who wants their super invested competently without spending a single weekend on it. Here is the evidence that settles most arguments. The ATO states plainly that SMSFs under $500,000 deliver lower average net returns than APRA-regulated funds after fees and tax, ATO. On a $250,000 balance over 22 years, the difference between a 6% net return and a 5% net return is roughly $929,000 versus $735,000, about $194,000, driven by lower percentage costs and better average performance. The honest weakness is control. If your genuine goal is to hold a commercial property inside super or run sophisticated tax planning, an industry fund will not let you do it. For the small minority who truly need those tools, that limitation is real. And according to MoneySmart, it is the main reason people legitimately move to self-management. The SMSF is for the person who genuinely wants the keys. The ATO confirms a fund can hold up to 6 members, but all of them become trustees, equally responsible for running the fund and meeting every super and tax obligation, ATO. It suits investors with the time, the knowledge, and a real reason to need that flexibility, not just someone who wants to buy a few shares. The SMSF's real advantage shows up once the balance is large. The ATO confirms that above $500,000, SMSF returns become competitive with industry funds, ATO. That is because the fixed running costs, around $2,400 to $4,400 a year per MoneySmart, drop from over 1% at a small balance to well under 0.5% at $500,000, where the structure finally starts to pay for itself. Now the catch, and it is a big one. According to MoneySmart, SMSF running costs of $20,400 to $4,400 a year equal 1.2 to 2.2% on a $200,000 balance before you pay a cent in investment fees. The ATO warns there is no government compensation scheme for SMSF losses. Premiums are often higher without bulk buying power, and advisors estimate active management can take over 100 hours a year. ATO bottom line control. Round 1 is fees and returns. On a $250,000 balance, MoneySmart figures put the industry fund near $2,500 a year against roughly $3,500 for the SMSF, about $1,000 more. MoneySmart. On net returns, the ATO gives the industry fund the edge under $500,000, while the two draw level above it. The SMSF also carries setup costs of $2,200 to $6,600 that the industry fund simply does not have. MoneySmart. Round 2 covers insurance, service and flexibility. The ATO notes SMSF insurance premiums are often higher because the fund lacks bulk buying power, and SMSF members lose free AFGA dispute resolution, relying instead on their own legal representation, ATO. The SMSF clause back one clear win on flexibility, win full control, including direct property, but it costs over 100 hours a year of trustee work to use it. Tally the rounds, and it is not close on points. The industry fund takes fees, returns under $500,000, insurance, dispute protection, and effort. The SMSF wins one genuine round, investment flexibility, and draws even on returns only once you cross the $500,000 line. If you remember one number, make it this one. The ATO finds SMSFs under $500,000 underperform industry and retail funds on average after fees and tax, while those above $500,000 become competitive ATO. Below that line, the fixed costs eat returns faster than control can ever make up for. So who wins? It genuinely depends, but the rule is sharp. If your balance is under $500,000 and you do not have a specific strategy that requires self-management, the ATO data says the industry fund wins on net returns, fees, insurance, and effort. And for our 45-year-old Sarah on $250,000, that gap is around $200,000 over 22 years. ATO, money smart. If your balance is well above $500,000, you have the time for over 100 hours a year of trustee work, and you have a real reason, like holding business premises, then an SMSF can stack up. The trap is the person in the middle who wants an SMSF just to pick listed shares they could already buy through a member direct option inside a cheap industry fund. Here is the clean decision guide. Choose the industry fund if your balance is under $500,000, you want professional hands-off management, or you value cheap group insurance and free dispute resolution. Choose the SMSF only if your balance is comfortably above $500,000, you have a genuine need for direct property or complex tax planning, and you can realistically commit the time and governance. And MoneySmart suggests modelling SMSF total costs under about 0.5% of your balance before you commit. MoneySmart. Before you move a dollar, log into MyGov and run your current fund through the ATO Your Super comparison tool, then get real SMSF quotes and find your own break-even balance. If this breakdown helped you see the line clearly, subscribe for more evidence-led money comparisons that cut straight to the verdict.